Muy buenas camperuzos, ¿cómo estamos? Hoy os traigo un vídeo muy, pero que muy interesante. Y es que es la primera vez que un desarrollador de DICE que ha trabajado en Battlefield 2042 habla acerca del juego, habla acerca del rendimiento del juego, habla acerca de los problemas que está teniendo el juego, habla acerca del Frostbite y también de lo que debería hacer Electronic Arts para solucionarlo en un futuro. Y ojo, porque todo esto, ¿de dónde viene? Bien, pues todo esto viene de un podcast en el que ha participado este desarrollador, que os pongo el link en la descripción del vídeo para que tengáis acceso a toda la información. Es un podcast en inglés, así que si no lo sabéis lo vais a tener un poco complicado, pero yo aquí os pongo la traducción para que lo veáis, como siempre os digo, de primera mano y no os lo cuente nadie. Así que chicos, vamos a empezar y os cuento. Para centrarnos un poquito y que le pongáis cara a quién es la persona que está detrás del podcast, pues veis aquí a Jim Hegg, que es el que vais a oír hablar, y como veis estuvo trabajando en DICE hasta el 2 de noviembre del 2021. Y esta es la presentación que le hacen en el podcast.
Rendering engineer on a variety of different projects at Electronic Arts, which he did over 20 years at. Those projects include Skate, Madden, Battlefield, etc.
Y aquí nos cuenta él para qué fue contratado.
I wasn't part of like original development or DICE or anything like that. So I got called in to do like performance type stuff and then also rendering stuff. So I'll tell a little of that too. But they were like, yeah, please look at the vehicles. And they were slow. I spawned a whole bunch of stuff like right in front of me in this level that basically had nothing in it. Looked at the profile. The indicator icon above the vehicle costs as much as the vehicle.
Aquí nos empieza a hablar de los problemas del rendimiento.
Like one of the people that helped 2042 get out the door, right? And one of the things that was really burning on them was performance, because they were just dumping assets into the game. You know, like they're just art is just like.
Ahora nos explica cómo el indicador del HUD de los tanques, porque fue una de las cosas que él estuvo trabajando, realmente daba un problema de rendimiento brutal. Vais a verlo en dos partes donde lo explica y es realmente alucinante.
Main game, there's like a mini map, and then there's like a little indicator that shows up, you know, in the real world above like tanks and stuff like that, right? Like, you know, the little things like that. And that stuff was like over budget. It was just like they did Burnout, they did Need for Speed. They, you know, they got their vehicles down.
I will say that, 2042's vehicles feel great.
They were making 2042 vehicles and the gameplay behind them, right? And so they tasked me to profile vehicles and figure out why they were so damn slow, because they could only, when I say slow, I mean performance slow, not the car slow. Right? And so nobody thought that like even to look at the indicator, you know what I mean? Like, so they thought they had a vehicle problem, and I was like, no, we got a UI problem. And that turned into like a whole crisis. There was like a SWAT team for just, you know, UI performance, you know.
Ahora explica y habla acerca de lo que es el trabajar allí, ¿no? Cómo se siente cuando ves que todo empieza a ser un engranaje y todo va funcionando perfectamente y ves que el juego se va haciendo, ¿no? Y eso realmente es una cosa que a él le gusta mucho.
And if you don't like work in like a large project, but a lot's happening and the game's changing really rapidly, you know, and you can see the progress of like this Friday to last Friday, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, and you can see things kind of coming together rapidly, you know, and I'm talking about just the game functioning, you know, like just everything working together and this behaving like a game and like.
También habla acerca del desafío que fue que el juego se moviera bien en las consolas de vieja generación.
The game physically like come together, run well, especially like on the older consoles, and because that's a big challenge. You know, there can be some like chaotic stuff that happens where, you know, Battlefield's a chaotic game.
I mean, there's dynamic weather and a lot of stuff for 2042 that they put in that I'm sure.
Yeah, those things start to add up too. And I'm not going to like walk off too far into the weeds here, but like they decided to do anti-aliasing that took into account motion vectors, you know, so like velocity, temporal AA, and that's kind of okay for like a world where a lot of things are static. A lot of it, you can just use the camera motion vectors. But for anything that actually moves in the world, you have to actually re-render their motion, you know, and figure out their whole motion vectors and stuff like that. And I don't think anybody realized how much stuff in Battlefield was going to be like that. You know, they made that tech decision, and then all of a sudden you had this storm coming, and every palm tree is like, you know what I mean? It's like every pixel. You know what I mean?
Aquí habla acerca del número de gente que había en ese momento trabajando en lo que es la renderización del juego, porque, ojo, era un problema acuciante.
So, like, you know, hashtag rendering, you know, for 2042 had 300 people in it. Ripple Effect, which was called Dice LA, working on it on the West Coast, you know? I was working on optimization stuff in Central Time. And then they had Criterion, you know, also working on stuff. And then they had Stockholm, you know, like also working on stuff. And so literally stuff's getting checked in at any hour, right? So at 3 a.m., you know, you could sync and new stuff's coming in. Because that some time zone's waking up somewhere, you know,
working on this thing,
and it was, some of it was kind of cool because you could like hand off a bug, you know.
Like, I'm not sure.
Like to Criterion, you're like, I'm going to sleep. It's all yours, you know.
Yeah,
and like,
you got it.
Pass the baton.
Pass the baton. Yeah, pass the baton. And to be fair, all these other studios that like got involved were pretty cool about like getting out and helping push, you know, like.
Y aquí entre risas dice, bueno, ¿cómo puede ser que con 1000 personas trabajando no hayan terminado el juego? Y pone, creo que el dedo en la llaga al decir y al hablar y al empezar a hablar de lo que es el motor Frostbite.
Putting 1,000 people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
it
like,
doesn't.
So everybody knows the overall arching story. They were late because some engine stuff, and I will rail on EA for that because there are off-the-shelf products that are available. You know what I mean? And they're wrestling with their own tech stack and trying to solve problems that are not a problem for anybody else.
Y bueno, ahora hace una afirmación realmente bastante interesante porque comenta que antiguamente, pues sí, el Frostbite era increíble, había muy poca gente que sabía trabajarlo, pero es que ahora hay herramientas que están a disponibilidad de todo el mundo, ¿no? Y aquí empieza la crítica que hace a Electronic Arts sobre este tema.
Internally developed tech engine, you know, like I don't care if you're EA, I don't care if you're Ubisoft, I don't care if you're Rockstar, it's just like 2K, whatever. They all have these stupid, you know, tech stacks that were a competitive advantage at one time. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, if your game was good, a lot of times it's because you had some engine programmers that were pretty good. That was the world for like a long time. And then that got really democratized by the availability of these commercial engines, you know? So like, it's just weird to me, really weird, that these companies persist in developing their own tech. You know, they got like 800 people trying to follow, you know, these commercial products that are available off the shelf. And
I'm sure it makes it really hard to hire people off the shelf too, right? It's like, maybe not. Yeah.
You know, like there's a junior at, you know, Georgia Tech or whatever, and he has Unity or Unreal, you know, installed on his computer.
100%.
And he's learning it, and he may have written a plugin.
Yeah, he made his final project on it.
Or some girl does her master's in, you know, in Unity or whatever, and it's like, we're trying to hire that now, you know, like
it's like, hey, come learn this engine. Please.
Yeah. Welcome to Frostbite, and and I can rag on the user experience of Frostbite because everybody knows that it is at EA how difficult it is to use. It's not
even a secret.
Ahora, sin embargo, también comenta que este motor Frostbite tiene ciertos aspectos que los otros motores no tienen y que por eso le da un plus a este o un beneficio a este motor. Pero antes ya he estado comentando que, bueno, sí, puede ser muy bueno, pero si no sabes utilizar las herramientas de este motor es el problema, ¿no? Pero bueno, aquí lo veis. Se pone un poco técnico al principio, pero luego es bastante aclaratorio todo.
We also got to decouple the fact that there's two things going on. There's a runtime engine. There's like the Frostbite runtime, you know, there's like a legit engine that makes this stuff happen on console. And then there's the content creation piece, you know, the window, the tool, the thing, the workflows, the making content
Yes.
for the engine, right? Those are two different pieces. And they've got a world-class runtime, and they got some of the best engineers. It's really good. I'd put it up against Unreal any day. It's like extremely well done. It's got optimizations in there that I can't talk about, but that are not in the other engines, you know, and they just did some really brilliant stuff down there.
Ahora comentan dos cosas interesantes y es el posible cambio de motor gráfico, si se decidiera cambiar el motor gráfico de Frostbite al Unreal 5. Y bueno, comenta que sería complicado primero económicamente porque han destinado mucho dinero a esto, ¿no? Y entonces sería una pérdida de dinero realmente increíble. Y luego que a lo mejor sería lo peor que podría hacer Battlefield, ¿no? Ya que digamos, toda la estructura que tiene DICE en torno a esto, pues sería bastante complicado. Vamos a verlo.
If you spent, you know, like sunk cost, if you spent 10 years of investing in that thing and you got this whole org structure and you got all these teams that rely on it, you know, I'm not making light of the fact that, like, it would be a big deal to swap engines. You know what I mean? Like, 100%. That's huge. Like, people complain about Frostbite. Well, moving from Frostbite to something else, that would also be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, especially for...
Y aquí finalmente comenta lo que él piensa que debería hacer Electronic Arts, es decir, bueno, no Electronic Arts, sino cualquier empresa, que los desarrolladores decidan qué motor es el mejor para el juego, ¿no? No que se les imponga, que es lo que parece que está pasando en Battlefield 2042.
The company we are, we're not a tech company, you know what I mean? We're not in the engine business. We're not.
Right.
We're in the we make world-class content business, and we'll use whatever the best tech is, and then just let teams do whatever they want to do. You know,
that's how we are.
Yeah.
Bueno, pues creo que un documento inédito este vídeo, creo que es algo realmente para que todo el mundo lo sepa, todos los que están jugando Battlefield 2042, todos los amantes de Battlefield que han dejado la saga, que han dejado el juego, que han dejado de jugar, los que están jugando también deberían de saberlo, que el problema que está teniendo el juego actualmente es el Frostbite. Toda la gente que está entrando, toda la gente que es gente muy talentosa, pero ese motor gráfico que les imponen a los desarrolladores, pues está dándoles muchos problemas. Por eso sí que es cierto que está mucha gente trabajando en Battlefield 2042, pero es que cuando llegan a esa herramienta que tienen que utilizar para solucionar el problema, pues no es que no sepan, sino es que tienen que aprender cómo funciona todo y les cuesta todo muchísimo más. A lo mejor con otro motor gráfico y menos personal, pues sería todo más fácil. Pero ya veis que también comenta que ese cambio realmente brutal, cambiar de motor gráfico, pues a Electronic Arts le costaría, y a DICE le costaría muchísimo dinero, y luego pues a lo mejor sería lo peor que podían hacer. También lo comenta de esta forma, ¿no? Él tampoco tiene la solución al problema en sí, ¿no? Comenta lo que ve desde su punto de vista como trabajador dentro, que ese Frostbite da problemas, pero bueno, es lo que hay actualmente en Battlefield 2042 y veremos si en la siguiente entrega de Battlefield usan el Frostbite o utilizan otro motor gráfico. Bueno, chicos, agradeceros a todos aquellos que me apoyáis en el canal incondicionalmente, que sois increíbles. Siendo miembros premium y miembros premium top, sois geniales, y toda esta gente que me apoya en Twitch también. Muchísimas gracias a todos, espero que os haya gustado el vídeo, dale like si os ha gustado, la campanita para que os avise del contenido que voy poniendo y suscribiros al canal, a este humilde canal, que vosotros lo hacéis grande. Ya, camperuzos, nos vemos dentro de muy poco. Mucho Battlefield, mucho competitivo.